Hey everyone. So I did an article from Elite Daily already by Lauren Martin. I think Miss Martin and I probably won't see eye to eye on very many things, but I don't plan to do any more articles, or I don't plan to address any more articles that she's written, except for this one. This will be my last article that I read that was penned by Miss Martin. I almost wasn't going to do it, but I just thought, I am a mgtow, and I want to do this for other mgtow, but I also am a human being, and I just deeply feel like it's important to make sort of a public service announcement about this article because a lot of people are going to read this article, and if anybody, you know, places any sort of faith in Lauren Martin's financial expertise, they're going to ruin their own lives. And so I just wanted to make this video as a response to this article, more as a human being even than a MGTOW. Um, and so let's get right into the article. The article is called "If You Have Savings in Your 20s, You're Doing Something Wrong" by Lauren Martin. Okay. Quote, "I don't have any savings, but I also don't have any wants. I don't know about you, but I like to enjoy my life. I like to go out to eat, buy clothes that I don't need, and spend money with friends on memorable nights out. This goes back to a piece of advice a very successful friend gave me. Don't save money, make more money," he nonchalantly stated, pushing me into a taxi. Unlike most things people tell me, this advice did not go in one ear and out the other. It stayed with me and changed the way I look at everything from my career to my savings. Before this piece of advice, I was frantic. I was always doubting and always feeling guilty. I lived in the most exciting city in the world, also the most expensive, and had yet to experience it. I was trying to save, which meant trying not to eat. I was going out with friends. I had yet to go to a club and had never seen the inside of a taxi. First of all, how did she not? The guy pushed her into a taxi. Whatever. I mean, Miss Martin is, her name is synonymous with glaring inconsistencies, but I'm not really interested in attacking the inconsistencies here. I think anybody can see that. We're going to go more for the crux of the article and the flawed reasoning therein. So continuing with the quote, I couldn't enjoy my life because I was too busy worrying about my bank statement. I was too busy watching my savings instead of savoring my youth. Why did I feel so guilty about spending money on myself and my life? When did our 20s start to feel like our 40s? When did we get weighed down with the same pressures and stresses as a woman with 4 kids and a second mortgage? We don't have kids, we'll be renting for the foreseeable future, and we have no problem eating at McDonald's when we're skint. I've recently figured it out. This pressure, this third-party stress, is ingrained within us. It's this looming doom our parents carved into our unconscious, only to come out anytime we make an impulse purchase or have to spend the night without Netflix. But like most things our parents have ingrained in us, we must consciously work to push it out. Because while they may have the best intentions, they don't always have the best insight. They want us to save because it provides us with a safety net, but that's exactly why we shouldn't. Their need for us to have a safety net is just a giant metaphor for the difference between our parents' generation and ours, end quote. So we're starting to get into the crux of the article here. Basically, she's shrugging off any advice or wisdom that her parents have tried to pass on to her. So back to the quote. We'll get into this. Quote, "They were getting married at 20 while we were just getting our first apartments. They were saving for kids while we still want to be kids. We're on different schedules, different paths, totally different savings plans. We're taking our time growing up, refusing to be shackled by mortgages and diapers. We're trying not to live with safety nets. We're trying to live on the edge." So I'm going to skip a little bit of the fluff. She's just saying the same thing over and over again, of course. When you have nothing to lose, you have everything to gain, she says. Okay, so, quote, You'd be surprised at how cautious people get with just a few thousand in the bank. This isn't the time to safeguard, it's the time to bet all your chips and hope to make it big. When you live your life by numbers, you strip yourself of poetry. What memorable experience does money in the bank give you? How well-rounded can people become sitting at home watching their limited funds gain interest? Life is to be lived, not watched from the inside of your rent-controlled apartment, end quote. First of all, the whole point of interest is that you don't have to be there watching it for it to work. That's the lovely part of it. It's passive income. You know, your money is working to make money for you while you go out and make more money or enjoy your hobbies. So that just didn't make any sense. Back to the article, quote, "When you die, you can't take your money with you. You're acutely aware of your mortality. It makes spending money that much easier. Those who don't plan for future aren't planning for death. When you deprive yourself, you don't learn how to treat yourself." That's a yo. That's Y-O. And it's all capital letters. You don't learn how to, capital letters, treat yourself. Still going with the quote, "It's good to be cautious and plan for unexpected events. It's also good, however, to learn how to release and de-stress. Everything works out, and if you're smart, able, and had a job once, you'll have one again. Don't waste your youth worrying about experiences when you should be worrying about experiences. Don't waste your youth worrying about expenses when you should be worrying about experiences." Last paragraph, guys. When you care about your 401k, your life is just K. When you're 40, you're not going to look back on your 20s and be grateful for the few thousand you saved. You're going to be full of regret. You'll regret the experiences you didn't take, the people you didn't meet, and the fun you didn't have because you're too busy worried about a future that came and went. End quote. So, with the assumption then that she's not going to start saving until she's 30, and when she does, she won't have much experience, let's go to an Excel sheet that I put together. So I put together a little spreadsheet here. We have two individuals. We have Coterie and Lauren. Coterie decides that he's going to put away $300 a month, and at the end of the year, he's going to deposit $3,600 a year into his life savings. He begins doing this at age 20. Coterie's line of reasoning is that if he starts early, he can put away a modest sum. It may be a little bit difficult for him to put away $75 each week. But over the first couple years, it's difficult, and as he rises through the ranks of his job and works hard and diligently, eventually putting away $3,600 a year seems less and less arduous a task, and he'll have more and more disposable income to spend on himself. But he decides, you know, if I start putting away $3,600 a year, and I put it into an index fund that tracks the S&P 500, I can approximate perhaps an 8% return on my investment. I'll just leave it there and it'll passively grow. And so Coterie begins putting $3,600 a year at age 20 into his life savings. And over the first couple of years, it's a little bit difficult, but by age 24, 25, it begins to become easier as his salary increases, and he really starts to enjoy his life in his mid-20s, and he's, you know, very happy by the end of his 20s. Lauren, however, decides that she's going to put no money into her life savings until she's 30. Now, Coterie continues to put $3,600 into his life savings. By the time he's 40, he has $181,523 in the bank. He feels pretty financially secure. He says, you know, I've been returning 8% each year, and I know that if I continue with my strategy of putting $3,600 a year into my savings, I'll retire with over $1 million, and I'll be financially set to retire. Lauren decides that she wants to frolic about throughout her 20s, splurge with that extra $75, go buy dresses, go buy impulse buys, go to the club more often, get hit on by guys and turned down, and then go and write bitter, angry, sad, elite daily articles vomiting her feelings about how all men are weak and are not true men, and where have all the good men gone, and whatever sort of floats her boat. But she decides to live vigorously by her own philosophy and deposits absolutely nothing into her savings throughout her 20s. Then she hits age 30, and reason finds itself into her brain, and she says, oh my God, what have I done? I need to work harder. But because she's been frolicking about throughout her 20s, she hasn't really built up a lot of credible or tangible or transferable work experience. So, even though her salary when she turns 30 is much lower than Coterie's, she decides that she works really hard and saves everything. She lives ruthlessly with herself. She doesn't allow herself to impulse buy ever. She lives very, very frugally, and she's just miserable. But she manages to put away twice as much as Coterie each year from age 30 to 40. And so she puts away $7,200 a month, and they both put their money into the same index fund. And so at the end of her 30s, when she turns 40, she has $119,848 in the bank. So let's take a look at the results. Coterie invested $3,600 for 20 years. Lauren invested $7,200 for 10 years. The total of cash in their life savings or available to them at age 40, though, is quite different. We see that Coterie has $181,523. Lauren has $119,848. So the results are that even though they invested the exact same nominal amount of cash, Coterie is richer by $61,675, and Coterie was happy throughout his 20s and his 30s, whereas Lauren was miserable throughout her 30s, even though she may or may not have been happy in her 20s. But just for curiosity's sake, let's see how they both retire. Let's say that Lauren continues she says, I'm going to catch up to Coterie. I'm going to continue putting $7,200 in my account and double the amount of investment that Coterie is putting into his account until we both retire at age 65. Now, who, gentlemen, I wonder, will come out richer at retirement? Let's find out. Lo and behold, Coterie still has $200,000 more than does Lauren. Interesting stuff, considering that she's been putting in far more money nominally than he has by the end, because she's been doubling his nominal investment for the next 25 years. So, actually, I'm curious about that. Let's see how much more she's paid than he has. So, in the end, Lauren has paid $90,000 more to her life savings than has Coterie at the end, and Coterie comes out with $200,000 more, or I guess $150,000 more now that I eyeball that. Napkin mathematics, $160K maybe, more than Lauren, even though she's put in a lot more nominally than he has.